Welcome to Center of Light. Good to see you tonight. Center of Light, Center of Divine Unfoldment and Reinforcement. Strap in all my astronaut spiritual friends as we launch for inner space. Keith Anthony Blanchard here. I'm likely going to be one of the first to wish you happy holidays. Premature? I have lots of things in my life that are premature. It's good to see you. I have a wonderful guest tonight via Gavin Lee Davies of John Hunt's Publishing. Gavin, what a beautiful man. Hello, KK. Hello, everyone. My guest tonight is Alyssa Couture or Couture. So I hope I don't get, I like getting people's names right. I want to let you know that in this forum, I have been posting most recently or often the links to my guests as well as my work and my books. And you will see Alyssa's book here in the forums as well. Make sure you walk all over her page and leave a big noise. Let her know you exist. The world's getting crazy. More so. Are you finding yourself stable and balanced? It's required. It is a prerequisite to win the game of life. What if the game was really just simply having fun and had no meaning whatsoever except the one that you give it? We're feeling happy? Happy? Are you healthy? Tonight is healthy fashion. Everybody's got their swag, right? Do you feel fashionable? It has to do with apparel, but what are you wearing? People say that shirt looks good on you. No, I look good in this shirt, or vice versa. You get my point. Please support those who are taking care of you anywhere. Now is the time to be in a state of absolute service to everyone you meet, actually. And the more you are in service, the quicker, the greater your vibration will lift. The best way to elevate your energy is to be of service. And not only when you can find the time, because there is no more time. Keep that in mind. Tonight is Center of Light Radio with guest Alyssa Couture. And we're going to be speaking about her new book, Healthy Fashion. Again, the links to her work is in these forums. Let me tell you a little bit about my guest tonight. Alyssa is a fashion author and fashion entrepreneur. She feels fashion is an opportunity to attain health and healing. She claims the existence of fashion can be interpreted and experienced with a deeper purpose. Fashion as an alternative medicine for mind, body, and spirit. Her sole motive is to bring fashion into its course as a therapeutic healing tool to awaken the consciousness of the human spirit via fashion into its transmission of divine activity. Oh my God, I love that. The word divine, I'm so about the word divine and divine consciousness and humanity and unity and all that cool spiritual woo-woo-woo. For overall human well-being, and ultimate planetary awakening. She had founded 3 small businesses, only one of which she is currently producing. The business she is focused on is her fashion campaign, Healthy Fashion, creating innovative solutions for a healthier kind of fashion. It is a platform to raise awareness of the health effects of apparel. Take that. Certain colors you wear have certain effects. If you want to absorb energy, wear black. If you're out in a cray-cray experience, do not wear black. Healthy Fashion discloses important relative content to revamp fashion for a healthier planet, but above all, it serves for the health and livelihood of humans, livelihood of humans. I'm tongue-tied. It is to empower and preserve Earth, humans, and plant life. Alyssa specializes in the healing arts, metaphysics, and alternative medicine, which are all complementary to her fashion work. It has given her outlook a much greater depth, which prompted the need to write Healthy Fashion. Hello, sister. Welcome to Center of Light Radio. Hi, Alyssa. I think she's frozen or disconnected. Let me do a recall. One moment. Welcome to Center of Light, darling. Unmute your mic. Is your mic still muted? There you are.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry about that.
It happens. How are you, dear? Welcome to Center of Light.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
Well,
I
it's
really
all
enjoyed
you.
everything. I really enjoyed everything you had to say. It was so interesting. I'm really on the same wavelength as you when it comes to the new age and the spiritual awakening. I really understand and grasp where you're coming from.
Sorry about that. I had some technical stuff I had to attend to. Yeah, I'm glad we're of like minds, but rather like hearts. Fantastic. When did this spiritual awakening, whatever, how it fits your life model, your design, begin to happen for you? Was this, although it's innate in all of us, was this innate with you with unbroken conscious flow this as a child? Or for most people, it takes a life experience of trauma or pain. It puts us in a dark night of the soul for a while to find the light because we haven't found the light on our own. When did this begin and how for you, dear?
Well, this is a good question, and I am 36 years old now, and it started really at a very young age. I mean, since childhood, I've been, struggling. When you're a light worker and an energy worker on this planet, it's a really rough road for most people, and it was for myself. I was sort of kind of very uncomfortable with all of the heavy energies on the planet. So, being such a sensitive person, it really took a hold of me just being on this planet. And I don't know if you probably have heard there's some kind of spiritual battle on this planet that I have been definitely a part of. The battle between, the divine realms versus the satanic evil realms. But I know that you have mentioned, you kind of might go above that. But for my life experience, I have had to be sort of a spiritual warrior, a light warrior, and I've had to learn to become a channel and a healer. And I believe I have not completely arrived in my enlightenment stage, my stage of enlightenment. I traveled to several ashrams and monasteries, and I lived and worked there for some bit of my 20s and my 30s. And that really kind of got me into the spiritual life. I was studying Paramahansa Yogananda, and I was doing yoga, and this was sort of in congruency in combination with my fashion work, because I really wanted to go deeper with fashion. And with my spiritual life, I felt that there was sort of a resistance, and part of that was because my wardrobe wasn't completely aligned with my spiritual life. So I sort of actually used my spiritual techniques and my spiritual experiences. Um, it, and most recently, hello?
I'm
Can
here.
you? Okay, you can hear me though, right?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, the video just went off, so I'm like, oh my God. Anyways, back to the story. So at this point, with the whole background with going to the ashrams, going to the monasteries, I had ended up kind of doing a lot of retail work and getting into creating a fashion brand. I produced a fashion show. I dabbled in fashion illustration. I was made it into the Saks Fifth Avenue Emerging Designer Talent Search competition. So I created a lot of fashion experience over the years. And it all began when I was 16 years old, when I was drawing in my little notebook. And at that point, I was really bad at drawing. I wasn't good at drawing at all, really. But it took a turn when I went to fashion design school and I started to become more philosophical and try to theorize fashion and get into some more of the deeper concepts of fashion that really would promote fashion as health, meaning fashion as an alternative health remedy, fashion that is congruent with the spiritual awakening on the planet, fashion that can work with the mind, body, and spirit, meaning we don't just look at fashion in a physical way, but we look at a mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic way. So we're bringing the entire five bodies in relation to fashion in order for it to be a therapy. And I also talk about, um, I get into fashion and the elements. I get into a lot of the fashion therapies. And back when I was sort of in my, I don't know, stage of dark night of the soul, as you would call it, I don't know if I really ever left the dark night of the soul. I think that there's a lot of purgatories happening on this planet, and we're still kind of battling through these end times from which I have experienced. I can't, say it for others, but from what I can tell, I believe that fashion is just going to be one form, one new tool because it's not really in the mainstream, but fashion as a tool to awaken and enlighten and help activate people's DNA and do all sorts of supernatural things. And it did start with a lot of trauma, a lot of loneliness, a lot of research. I mean, I've been sort of involved with these projects very heavily, so it took a lot of um, solace and time with myself to be able to delve into what I have, uh, you know, created.
What ashrams did you attend? I heard you say that, and I was just so following you there. Who did
Okay,
you go
so
see?
I went to Shivananda in San Francisco. I went to Yogananda School of Excellence in Michigan. I lived at Bhavana Society in Highview, West Virginia. I went to a place up in Oregon, Expanding Light of Consciousness, and that was also the teachings of Yogananda.
I've always loved the teachings of Yogananda. What a pure, genuine soul.
Oh my God, yeah. Truly he's a remarkable being, and I would almost consider him to be an ascended master. It's just it's true. I read a piece of his book, and it's pure purity. When you read his writing, it just hits your soul. It's almost like an activation when you read his writing and the biography.
Who is healthy fashion for, and what is medical fashion?
Okay, so I would say it's for you, the fashion consumer. All of us, the fashion consumers. It's for fashion professionals who are in the industry who would like to, you know, uh, pursue, evolving their wardrobe, evolving their company. It's basically, it's not, there's no cult involved. This is completely a movement that everyone is a part, should be participating in. And many of these uh, concepts that I talk about in the book, they really involve getting everybody together, sort of like a movement, a universal type of fashion where it's worldly. It's not just signature to one person. What was the second question?
I asked you about medical fashion.
Okay, so medical fashion, there's different types of medical fashion that we can talk about, but part of it is the treatments. We can pursue more herbalism in regards to textiles and in putting the herbs like aloe and neem and turmeric and indigo, and treat the fabrics with herbs, herbal dyes, and use plant medicines like plant-based fabrics. We go way back in time with our synergistic connection between ourselves and plants. So when we get more involved with plants, more cotton, more linen, rami, bamboo, nettle, capic, pina, all of the different sorts of plants that are out there, and sort of get that into the textile industry, because right now we're at 90%, almost 90% textile market of polyester, and we really have to move into the medicinal plant-based fabrics and
Well,
plant-based dyes.
wouldn't where does hemp fall in all of that?
Hemp is a top player. Hemp is a top plant-based fabric for the future. Yes, so hemp is included. I love hemp. I've worked with hemp with some of my sample collections that I designed and put together, and I think it's a phenomenal fabric. It's a healing fabric, and it has an energy to it. I know that linen has a is a biblically involved biblically in the Bible to be a sacred healing fabric, and I believe hemp there, I would have to discover some more research, but I believe hemp is up there for it being sacred with some healing properties that we may not have yet discovered for the
When
body.
when I opened up and read your bio and I kind of inserted something about clothing that came from Sadhguru about the wearing of a certain colors, black being all about absorption and white being just the opposite. I understand now because, like I said to you in the radio green room, I don't like learning too much about the guests. I like it to be organic and raw for me so I can take it in as the audience is. But I understand fashion now and what you mean. And I was trying to weave fashion and spirituality, which everything is spirituality. But I was just trying to get on the same page as you, which is I understand now. It's like an inner decor. It's like an ambiance, an altar that you create in your house to alter you. You put your favorite things on there, pictures of your deceased loved ones, your children, your favorite deity, your favorite stones, that which supplies you with this feeling of well-being every time you're near this. So basically, this is like an ambience because you are the living, breathing, moving about in the world altar. Yeah.
Well, yes, I agree with you 100%, and I've never considered calling it an altar, but I have considered calling it a sort of like a light spell. We're putting not black magic, but we're putting white magic on our body, and we could be wearing sadistic evil clothing if we wanted to, but basically, as you're speaking of it being an altar, yes, when we put on these garments and these silhouettes and the designs and the fabrics and the textures and the colors and all of the adornments and the decorations, they're symbolic to our life, as well as it represents some kind of spell that we're putting out to the world and a spell that we're putting into ourselves. And I would almost call fashion, I do call fashion magical in that sense. I talk about magic a little bit in my book. More so, I talk about supernatural capabilities that fashion can do for us and provide for us. And I do remember I read in Europe, they would design their garments in history, they would design their garments in the structure of a temple, of a church. So, because they wanted to seal the light in their body the way the temples and the churches would seal the light in the temples. So
That's delicious.
yeah, I love that. I think it's perfect, and it's a perfect example of how we can bring fashion into a point of protection, of serious armor. And with this planet being a battlefield in some sorts, fashion is definitely a tool, and we already do this already in our lives. But when we are conscious and more, if we're more conscious about it, we can activate, the power of it more and more.
Wow. I loved when you said it's armor, because when you feel good about yourself, obviously we are emitting. You can't jack with me. So I'm really digging this spin, if you will, on this approach of yours. Very, very cool. Why did you write this book?
Well, I wrote it because I felt that there was sort of an emptiness and a void in fashion. It's especially in mainstream because I follow all of the high street luxury ready to wear collections. And I believe some of the elitism in fashion has sort of controlled fashion to a degree, and it's made it egotistical and superficial. And many of the garments are painful, they're sacrificial. People walk around and they're just uncomfortable. So I felt like bringing this, with my healing background, because I do dabble in energy work, planetary energy work. I don't really work on humans directly, but I work on the planet with the energy and the ley lines and the energy grids with the vortex. So with that background that I had with connecting with the vortexes, like Mount Shasta, the sacred places in Monterey, and Arizona or wherever, when I brought myself to these vortexes, these special places on this planet, I actually felt sort of way more connected to my spirit guides, and I wouldn't say way more conscious, but definitely way more aware and more sensitive to the world around me. And so when I got into sort of vortex tripping, going from different trips to vortexes, I ended up uh, starting the book right after that. It was Mount Shasta really was my favorite vortex and energy center on the planet that prompted me to write the book. And I wouldn't say the book is a channeled piece, but I will say the drive that I had and the motivation I received to write it, it had to have been there had to have been some serious guidance involved. So I did write the book for for the divine higher purpose in my life, and to help others, and hopefully to sort of be an advocate, to be a healthy fashion advocate, to help support the industry and help support people's wardrobe.
Do you have some supernatural gifts that you can share? Because I know you do. And, you just mentioned that you were not saying this is channeled, but anytime we bring anything in the form of art, heart, we're no longer apart from that which is unifying or unity itself. So even though you said you don't really per se consider this as channeling, I'm sure you have channeling healing energy abilities. Yeah. There's these supernatural, we call them supernatural. People get wigged out on the word magic. They get butthurt in a very strange way, or supernatural. Well, if God is the most supernatural thing, we have to get our ducks in a row and really understand. So we all have supernatural abilities. We call nature what we look outside to be. That is nature, but that's not really the end of the definition of nature. Nature is that which is natural, that which is the essence, the basis of life itself. So do you have these channeling, healing energy abilities that you can share with us?
I can share with it. I can share you what I go through because of your type of channel. I think your show would respond to it. So basically, I would consider myself a planetary energy healer, and I do go to the vortexes to actually help initiate the ley lines on the planet and activate the ley lines with the crystalline energy. And I have a strong connection to ancient Lemuria. I don't know if you've read any literature on Lemurians in Lemuria, but they are an ancient extraterrestrial race. Some say they are living within the earth, within the inside of the core of the earth, but they are, they actually got me to figuring out what type of energy work I do. So I kind of consider my sort of I consider myself sort of a vortex of energy when I visit the vortexes, and I'm sort of transferring and channeling energies. I don't get all the information. I don't receive all the information of what I'm doing. I'm not really allowed. Um, I think this could be because I believe my third eye was deactivated when I was a child. I believe my gifts were taken from me, my sight to see what I do. I believe that it was taken from me when I was a young child.
Let me ask you this, dear. Let me ask you this. Um, that your sight was taken from you as a young child. Do you remember what it was like when you were able to see?
Um, I have such
Or was
memory
that
loss.
taken away from you as well?
It happened in infancy. I believe that happened when I was an infant. Yeah, so I had no chance. And I believe millions of people are going through the same thing. I believe there's lots of people going through the same thing.
There's a lot more to this package of Alyssa, this dynamite package, than my apologies I saw coming, because I thought this was going to be woven into, and I was going to love it regardless. But in other words, there's a lot of you that you hold back, or do you hold back?
I think that, yes, there's some topics that people just can't resonate with, and there's just some sensitivities behind what I talk about. So when I talk about energy healing, a lot of people just don't even get it, and they don't even, really want to. But the energy work that I do, it actually is completely, yeah, in correlation with the fashion work that I do, because even with the designs that I was making with my collections, it was designed. The clothing was designed to help the body, the energy body, to help the aura, and to help the mind and body and spirit. So but I do live, I believe, kind of two worlds. I have the energy planetary healing gifts, and then I also have the fashion work. And do they collide? They do in some respects, but in others it's kind of nice to just go my different ways and sort of not do the fashion for a little bit and get into the energy work and then do fashion. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, I like playing all the multifaceted roles that we are. Let me ask you this: what is the heart of healthy fashion?
The heart of healthy fashion would probably be sort of a mix of basically what is unhealthy fashion. I put a lot of research and just concepts in regards to what is unhealthy so we can decipher what is healthy and what is not. I believe the heart is also plant tech, bringing plant-based fabrics into the picture, so it gets to the point where it is not just, we're wearing linen and cotton, but we're wearing multiple types of plants soon. And it's a plant sacred connection. And I would also say that there's the spiritual side of the book, which is a large part of it. I do kind of dabble in the book, which keeps things interesting. But the spiritual side of it is, you know, when we look at the celestial beings, we look at the monks and the gurus and the priests and the angels, and we see them all wearing the robe, the sacred robe. Well, we can use that as sort of an example that the clothing has power, and the clothing blesses us, and the clothing gives to us, I believe, uh, even to the point where I did write about galactic fashion. Where we're going is we're going to be wearing light codes, and we'll be transferring light code energy, light code symbols and technology and communications between each other, between other universes through our fashion. So that's another piece that I believe is pretty important to the heart of the book.
Being a writer myself, my first book, my first bestseller, The Divine Principle, Anchoring Heaven on Earth, took me 8.5 years from conception to the release. But I would sit in meditation from 12 noon to 6, 9 at night. I would not budge. I've been living in an office chair for many, many, many years. I would start to write. I would not leave this chair except to get food, run an errand, and use the restroom. I know the challenges of writing, especially since I've failed English 4 times and typing twice. I had to quit school. Well, I quit school. And these are 2 skills you need to be an author, so to speak. I saw many challenges come, until I met an editor. She changed my world. She taught me in a month to become a serious writer, not only in the form of ideas and concepts, bringing forth thought processes, but how to actually write grammatically. What was your biggest challenge as a writer to bring forth this love of yours?
Well, that's a great story, and I too have a little bit of issues with writing. I am a little dyslexic, so I have to struggle with reading and rereading words and paragraphs. But I love writing. A psychic told me in a past life that I was a writer. I think it was in the 1820s or 1920s, and her name was Emily. And he said I was a writer in a past life. So I would always read these books of deceased women who were famous writers, Sylvia Plath, Edna St. Vincent Millay, and this was a strong background for me, was reading about these famous, amazing poets and writers. And I really was passionate about reading about these women, these remarkable women. And so after I read those books, I got into poetry and storytelling through writing. So I'd write non-fiction, fictional stories and poetry about poems, excuse me. And that got me into like sort of heading into the direction of writing this nonfiction fashion book. I'm sort of right-brained, so I kind of like the creative side of poetry and fictional writing. So the nonfiction side of writing, it sort of was also a little bit challenging because there was some research involved and some science, but I got through it. And I think rereading it over and over, that took a long time. And I had some heart problems that was messing up with some of my brain processing for a little bit. So I struggled also to just read through the editing stage. That was becoming a little bit of an issue. But I'm just telling you everything about me. You know everything now. But yes,
When you were
I
writing
love
your
writing.
book, when you were writing, did you feel at any moment, I'm not the one dialoguing in my head at this time? Something else is coming. Of course, we all have these feelings that something is coming from somewhere else and we're picking up ideas and we're being inspired and inspirational. But did you ever have the epiphany of, I'm not the one in my head trying to think thoughts to put down on this document or on this tablet? Did you feel at any moment that this is coming from a channeled source, if you will?
Yes, I have a strong connection with Lumeria and the Lumerians, and I believe they helped support the book, and they were part of the visionaries, having the vision of the book. I believe they definitely intervened. You know, I'm not going to tell the whole world that because people really wouldn't, understand that. But there is a book that I read by Diane Robinson, and she was a pure channel. And when I read her book, I got an instant activation. I felt enlightened. I was buzzing with joy from reading the words on the book, and it was like an activation. So I would be honored if my book would actually activate people, and it would be some form of channel. I'd be truly honored.
That was the next question I was going to ask you, which is, what do you hope your audience, readership group, would glean from your heart?
Well, just definitely that we're moving into a new dimension on this planet. We're moving into the spiritual awakening, the new
You think?
age. Yeah, and even with, all of the strife on the planet and all of the complications and all the possible interference, I think that many people, I mean, there's a lot of soulless beings on this planet that are just sort of, there's this zombie land that, we all kind of need to wake up and also realize that not everyone on this planet, is helping. But I do believe that we're all going to rise up together. There's going to be some kind of transmutation. Whoever is, not on board with the spiritual awakening, the evil satanic ones, the cults activities that happen on the planet, which is going on in every industry. It's going on in the fashion industry. The government, controls part of the industry a lot, and a lot of the elitists control fashion. Only 1% get to wear the $3,000 T-shirt or whatever. So there's definitely a lot of things that need to be balanced. So I would say with my book, you're going to get sort of an eye-opening form of awareness about what's going on in fashion, what did go on, the history, and what went bad, what went right, and where we're headed. It's sort of a big picture book to help people.
So, what are some of the fashion concepts in this book? Fashion, healthy fashion.
So we have fashion in the five bodies. I talk about fashion in relation to the mental, physical, emotional, energetic, spiritual uh, sides, the bodies in relation to fashion. We have ergonomics, fashion and ergonomics. So basically, a lot of these therapies like acupressure sandals or heated scarves or whatnot, we can use ergonomics more and more and more to develop therapeutic fashion that's, it could be as simple as a t-shirt or a piece of jewelry, like you're wearing a beautiful crystal jewelry. These types of pieces are ergonomic. They're ergonomically designed. They're therapeutic healing modalities that we can use in the name of fashion. And other concepts, I talk about fashion and the archetypes being, instead of perceiving fashion in a stereotypical way, saying, for example, a person is wearing, athletic attire, he's a jock. Well, we can go into the archetype zone and look at the archetype fashion and perceive him as being more of an adventurer or a hero. So instead of looking at someone and immediately saying, okay, he's a hippie, he's a jock, he's a homeless person, we can look at the clothing in a deeper way and use the Jungian archetypes or the Jungian, I don't know how to pronounce it still. And we can sort of bring fashion, its perception in a deeper way. So I talk about fashion and the archetypes. I also have a glossary of 35 different types of plants from around the world that we can start using, many of them being from ancient history that we already used in the past for textile use. And some of that being cotton, well, we have cotton and linen, hemp, rami, tencel, capic, abaca, lyocell. We have some new ones like rosebush stem, aloe vera, cactus. And we can use some of the aquatic plants like seaweed. We can use the aquatic weeds like water hyacinth and lotus. And we can go to the desert and we can start farming and, holistically farming cactus plants for their fibers, for the cactus fibers, for fabrics. So we can kind of utilize more of the planet in different types of environments all around the world to sort of prompt and help the economy, help the environment, and help our lives at the same time.
When is your book going to be released?
The book will be released December 1st. It is available on IndieBound, Barnes& Noble, Amazon, and a whole host of others. I've Googled, 50 plus. It could be in the hundreds of bookstores worldwide. So I'm hoping that, we'll pick up the momentum with this book and get people enjoying it.
I did meet you through Gavin Lee Davies. Is that correct?
Yes,
How does it feel? This is your first book, yeah?
it is. Yes.
How does it feel? I already know the answer, but I'm asking you because I want to hear it from you. Did you receive your first 6 copies yet?
I did, and it was wonderful. It was very emotional.
I was going
Um,
to ask, you write a book, you write an album, you do whatever, and the product shows up and you hear package delivery, right? And you get that fucking box of books, right? And you know what's in there. But knowing what's in there doesn't do it justice yet. So you get a razor knife or a butter knife or hell, car keys, and you slice the tape open and you open it up and you pick up that first child. What did it feel like
yes.
to be you?
Well, I was, to be honest, I was afraid of the book. I didn't even want to look inside it. I didn't even want to look inside it. I was so terrified. It took me a while to open the book up, and I don't know why. But I think it was just very emotional. There were some blocks that I had too, some emotional blocks with it. But where it could be a fail or it could be a win. But I'm striving for a successful book. That's what I'm striving for.
Well, I can tell you it's already successful because you and I are having a dialogue here now in front of lots of people about this beautiful spiritual journey, unfoldment, awakening of yours that you
Thank
are
you so
so
much.
selflessly
Thank you.
sharing. So that is you already a bestseller. And knowing
Thank
if
you.
Gavin Lee Davies is behind you, you're going to be even more of a bestseller. I love me some Gavin. I don't know
Yeah.
anyone who has ever met this guy who has anything ill to say about him.
He's got a presence. He really does. He's a really nice person.
And there was a time a few months ago that his book, the name is eluding me, was the number one moving book on the entire planet.
Oh my god. I knew it was a bestseller. I didn't know that it was
I'm trying to
that
remember the name
fast.
of the book. It was an alien abduction book, and forgive me, Gavin,
Yes,
my
it was
apologies.
was it The Haunted House?
It was the one after that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that one.
And he made a uh, post in moderation, but no, he wasn't. I loved it. That, hey guys, my book happens to be the number one moving, printed, conscious energy book on the planet. And this lingered for quite a while, a day or so. And yeah, he's connected many authors, creators, artists with many of an audience. I just love me some Gavin. So, would you announce, though I've been posting in these forums, how to find your new book soon to be released, which is going to go bestseller, you can bet. Congrats. But how to find, do you have a website so people can know more about you and some of the other things you're doing? And do you have some other creative printable works in the process?
Well, yes, I do. I do have a second book coming. It's in the works, but it's going to be slow. But you can find me at my website at www.h as in healthy, f as in fashion, campaign.com. And there you can follow and find a way to get to my social media. I have all Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest networks. Um, in my healthy fashion campaign, really, it has a blog, and it really is about what Keith said. It's launching, you know, the health effects of fashion and bringing it into awareness in a fun way. I try to do it in a fun way, a fun, creative, artistic way. I like pretty pictures, so I play with a lot of visuals on Instagram, and that's my fun place.
Do you, by chance, have a desire to whatever degree of being a fashion consultant, which you are because of this book, but more, let me find the right words. Um, Producing fashion, meaning an apparel or clothing, your own line, your own spiritual line.
And I did have a small handmade fashion brand called Alternative Fashion back in 2015. And I just did sample collections. It was handmade, but it was selling in boutiques and shops. Um, right now, I'm not really eager to, but it's definitely a serious passion of mine. I was designing and pattern making all these collections, hundreds of garments. I was sewing them all up, and yes, I would like to dabble into sort of, making some fashion inventions. Potentially, I would call them inventions because I want them to be, more like a therapeutic tool. But yes, I do. I just don't know when.
Spiritual designer clothes, spiritual conscious designer clothes. I love it. We have a few minutes left, and I would love to have you back in the future to support your book but to really dig, if I can, a little deeper into the heart set of Alyssa Couture.
I would be happy to. I'd be very privileged. Thank you.
Because I know there's more to you. Of course, there's more to all of us beyond this book. But I love your statement about it and how you bring it to the masses, your way of seeing things and your way of playing with ideas. It's fashion. It's fashionable. What do you love to do? Let's say, well, you are. You're a multi-gazillionaire. You're a billionaire. You have nothing you have to do. Whether you have all the money in the world or you don't need money at all because you live on a deserted island, what would you do every day? What is at the forefront of your heart, that fire burning in the furnace that ignites the eye, that illuminates you, that makes you want to get up and do the jig? What is it?
I would say, being the energy healer that I am, and definitely, doing the fashion healing and fashion dress. But I want to really help deactivate the evil consciousness on this planet, the some of the residual heavy energies, and I really want to rise up the planet and hopefully get more conscious. I want to get more enlightened. I mean, that's my heart's desire, is to get more connected with, ancient teachers and ascended masters. That's my goal. That's my ultimate goal.
How would you suggest that we begin to detach? I don't mean run away from whatever healing words we need to best describe that spiritually. How do we best resolve the evil on the planet so where I understand all the spiritual context. It's my own evil. It's a reflection of me. I get all that. And of course, you know that I get that. And I know that you do. But how would you address such a question like simply for the collective so we can all experience the divine reality, prophecy of heaven and earth? How do we flush out the evil from our own singular as well as collective lives so that we can become the true anchors of the children of light?
I I would, agree with everything that you said in the beginning of the show. That was all really relative to me, and I would also say connecting to our higher selves so that we have a connection to the universes, the multi-universes, and all of the uh, different teachers and healers and ascended masters and divine realm beings. And I would say just striving to bring up our presence. And I guess it's just going to collectively happen naturally in the way that it should. In my own life, I don't think it went very well. I think it's been a little bit of a tragic scenario, but hey, we're all light warriors on this planet and we're all doing our best. We're trying and doing what we can. And I think that's what matters most.
I ask very few people, some, not all, this particular question. Feel free to share or not. What is God to you?
Well, I have been disconnected. I was disconnected, and I have been a little disconnected to God. But I have found God in nature. I have found God at the spiritual vortexes on the planet. Um, there's just pure vibration, a beauty, and a almost heavenly paradise feeling that I can get into when I visit these vortexes and the sacred sites on Earth. And that's where I've actually, I believe, where I found God or my connection to God. But it doesn't happen every day, and it doesn't happen, you know, all day long. There'll be moments in my day where the light bulb will show up and I'll get that brief connection. But I feel like I do have to work on having a stronger and stronger connection. But what God is to me,
It's
I
it can be quote tough because we're trying to use human words to put into a limited box that which can't. I get it.
yes, it's not. I don't believe it's a he or a she. I believe God doesn't resemble a he or a she. I think sometimes I could be mind controlled to think that, even at times when I say the word God, because it's so ingrained in me since, I was a young child. God is him or whatnot. But I don't believe God is he or she. I think that there is a whole universe in multi-universe out there that is yet to be explored. Similar to our brains, we only use a certain percentage of our brains, and I think that are allowed, when we are allowed to step into our complete, presence, I am presence or whatnot, that I think is when I will have a stronger connection to God and I will remember God more and understand God more.
I love that you said remembered versus find. It is a seeking, it is a searching. But in the seeking and searching, it's not like we discover something for the first time. It's truly a homecoming, crossing the bridge to the soul. It's oh my God, I've always known this, but somehow I fell asleep. I enjoyed my nap. Now it's time for me to awake.
Yes, that's what it is. It's a process and a journey. And I mean, you're a little bit more, knowledgeable with spirituality than I am.
Not
Based on your
necessarily so.
books, well, based on your books and everything, it seems like you have a very strong message and vision. So I appreciate that.
I actually humble myself every time I come across someone who has this innate fire and they don't always share it right off the get go. They keep a little bit, actually more of it in reserve. And then as I begin to get to know them, being in an interview, that they slowly start giving me glimpses of some of this dynamite that they have, that they harness in their hands, their heart, and in their consciousness. It's like, all right, you need to give me some more of that because I'm inspired by people who live in the fire. I've said many times doing presentations or interviews, Alyssa, when I go to being a professional musician, I'm always out in the clubs. Not so much lately, but in my day back when, I would meet someone. Hey, Keith, I want you to meet John Doe. Hey, John Doe, how are you? Nice to meet you. I'm Keith Blanchard. Man, your band sounds great, blah, 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 yada, 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 right? So I'm sitting here having a brand new conversation with a brand new friend. John Doe. He doesn't even know we're friends yet, but I've already included him in my process. And what I will do with John or Jill Doe, Alyssa, is I will find a necklace, piece of jewelry, the way they talk, a physical beauty attribute, anything that really that I want to lean into because I can't get away from it. Something beautiful about this person. And I begin to massage it. And I begin to masturbate, if you will. I begin to touch this quality of myself in such a way because they have my attention. And I look into beautiful eyes or whatever it is about this person. And I get so lost, found in this place. I use this as a connection or a bridge to their soul. And because of, I literally see God step out of this person and make itself known to me. Because I'm so hunkered in and so focused on this beautiful characteristic or quality about them. It binds our friendship, even though we just met. And I know that you know this because we talk about focusing on that which we want to see grow. Do you do workshops? Do you do presentations? Do you have events to where you are empowering people in such a way that you're able to pull out their best? I mean, have you
Well,
had the
you certainly
opportunity?
do. You certainly do. That's very obvious and quite clear based on our discussion and your type of work. It seems like you have a knack and a power to be able to do that because it's true. Most of the stuff I said on your show, it doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't get spoken about. But right now, I am interested in doing consultations, uh, corporate and non-corporate companies, and it's been on my mind, and it's something I want to do. But it just is again, it's a project that needs more work, more energy and time toward it. But yes, I am working towards doing some type of consultancy. But I'm not a social butterfly like you.
That is the correct word. I'm a social butterfly. If I am out playing music, I just got done with a really cool set with fucking fantastic musicians. I'm talking about people who can seriously play. And I'm feeling cocky and good. And I just see a group of people over there hanging out I've never seen before, but they heard about the band. I will go introduce myself and I'll sit at the table and I will eat out of your French fry basket. It's my way of saying, hello, this is who I am. How you doing? We are brothers and sisters. You can never betray me because that would be your own nonsense and your own folly. I'm here forever. And this is just the way I operate because I've learned through so much pain, emotional baggage, and for what someone has done for me, when we fall into the act of absolute service, we're protected. We have let me ask you this. Is your name Alyssa Couture because of the fashion definition of couture? Is this just an alignment of yours?
Well, I was grown up saying couture my whole life, and then I went to fashion design school, and all my teachers called me couture. And then I was like, "Geez, maybe I should start saying Alyssa Couture because it that's really the French way of saying couture." But
And it sounds like an alignment because if we look at the definition of couture, it talks about fashion and this and that and digital. And so I would like to have you back on Center of Light again soon. Like I said earlier, to support your work with this new book. I have no doubt it's going to go bestseller. And you are welcome to post on my wall anytime. You don't have to ask. So don't ask, just do it. And I have an army, the Salvation Army, if you will, that will support you and your lofting and your lifting. Is there something you would like to leave us all with that we can lean into that will help us gain greater leverage in this time that seems so redonkulous?
well, like I said, Keith, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been a delight. I've really enjoyed being able to speak about the spiritual side and the spiritual experiences that I've gone through. I think it's definitely been played a large role in my fashion work. And I will say that, we're all kind of on this planet, and my book is called Healthy Fashion: The Deeper Truths. And I think we all should discover the deeper truths on this planet. We all should, be able to take the time to step out of the mainstream world and see what is out there. And it is hidden. A lot of this, ancient knowledge and whatever's going on this planet is hidden, and we have to discover it. And once we discover and expose it, I think we're going to get closer and closer to our main goal, which is being closer to God.
You talked about just a minute ago fashion, these different levels: spiritual, energetic, mental, emotional, physical, bliss body, causal body, etheric body, all these different aspects of the human being. And the one thing that connects us all together is energy. But do you think that how we feel about ourselves on any given of one of those levels will determine how we dress, how we address accordingly? In other words, if I feel this way about myself in a mental way, I will dress accordingly. Or emotionally, I will dress a little more frumpy, a little more in sleeping bag clothes, or what?
I think it goes both ways. I think that part of us, we dress for our emotions, and sometimes we do the opposite. We dress for using fashion as a tool, and we kind of have this dance going. It is definitely a tricky question, and it is something that I dabble in my book. Some more of the philosophical ways of perceiving fashion, in how we relate and interact with fashion. It's definitely, you know, deeper than just we wear clothes just to wear clothes. Or, I think that there's so much behind it. Even with your blacks, you're saying it absorbs energy, and I truly believe that. I love black. I wear black all the time,
It's my
and
favorite.
I mean, it could also be like charcoal, like the way the charcoal just absorbs that energy. And I would believe you are correct with the white and expanding the aura, expanding the light. And also, someone had mentioned to me, our chakras each have their separate colors, but they can also be mixed together. So when we say black absorbs energy, it can also go different multi-dimensional directions. So we can choose colors to be used for different ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you look at the banner that you are in living color, if you look at the last uh, letter O, everything is expanding outward towards infinite boundaries. Thank you for being here in Center of Light. I would like to have you back soon, a month or so, and I would like to kind of delve, if you want, a little deeper into Lemuria, Mu, Atlantis, and all this star-seededness about you. How does that sound?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you can, stick around for like about a minute and 30 seconds. I would love to talk to you in the radio green room. Is that doable?
Yes, of course.
Fantastic. Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard here, Center of Light Radio. I've been doing this a long time, but I'm still in my prime. I still have a lot of bang and fire inside of me. And I'm going to turn up the fuel. I'm going to bellow the flames. We're living in a redonkulous time. But let me say this differently. We're living in the most beautiful time in human history. It may not seem that way, and it will seem that way if you're living in the mindset of dismay. It doesn't give anyone the absolution of forgiveness, if that's the word, because of the folly that they're doing. People are doing stupid shit. There are stupid people in the world. It's not a judgment. It's call a spade a spade. It's a definition. Look under the definition of stupid shit. There will be an understanding there. So this is about an understanding of the evil that is moving about. Who's evil? We could say it's theirs. but it empowers us to say it's ours. And it's not about fault, but it is about responsibility and the salt of the earth. You are the salt of the earth. You're not going anywhere except here. Gather and collect yourself here. And every place you were trying to get to will simply come back because you've called your soul home. Homecoming, crossing the bridge to the soul. You are it. There is nothing else. Legit, I will see you very soon. I love you beyond measure. Peace, love, and light.